We've got your full Baton Rouge Regional preview, and is LSU sleeping on a sneaky good 4 seed? It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts. Of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you so much for that. LSU's regional is set. The 2 seed Dallas Baptist, the 3 seed Rhode Island, the 4 seed Little Rock. And today you will hear from 3 of the 4 head coaches on this episode. Exclusive interviews with Chris Curry of Arkansas, Little Rock, and Raphael Serado from Rhode Island. We did not catch up with Coach Hafner, from Dallas Baptist. He declined our interview. So we are all Rhode Island. Go Rams in that 2-3 matchup. You stiff the show, you've got no friend here. So all 4 Rhode Island, the 3 seed in that game in the 2-3 matchup. But I think the thing you're going to find most interesting in this episode today is when you learn about Little Rock, LSU's opponent. Because Little Rock, and I'm guilty of this, my first reaction, like everybody, was to go, sub 500 team. They're 8-16 in their conference. They were the last team to get in their conference tournament. They won 5 games in 4 days to steal a bid. Easy 4 seed draw. Maybe not, but we're going to get there. First of all, here was Jay Johnson as soon after the field was announced on LSU's draw.
I don't really have any thoughts on the draw. If you're one of 64 of 300 playing, then you're a championship caliber team. And that's what we have, in our path, and that's what every team has in their path. So excited to have the opportunity to continue to play baseball, and excited that it's going to be here at the box.
That part is absolutely true. The path to Omaha runs through Alex Box Stadium, and that is the best part of it. Now, the reality is LSU did get a favorable draw. I'm not budging off of that. You got Little Rock, which was a sub-500 team this year. You've got Rhode Island, which can hit the ball, but has really struggled to pitch it. And you've got Dallas Baptist, which is a team you've already beaten. Look around. Look at Coastal, for example. Coastal has Florida coming there. Look at the regional you're paired with, Clemson. They've got West Virginia and Kentucky in their regional. Ole Miss has a really tough regional as well. Point is, LSU got a good draw. I don't expect Jay Johnson to say it because you don't want to disrespect any opponent, and he's right to approach it the way he did. Because you disrespect an opponent, that's how you mess up and you get popped. It's worth noting, Rhode Island in regionals back in 2016, the last time they were in a regional, were sent to South Carolina in Columbia and beat South Carolina in the opener of that regional. So there's the landmines all over the place when you start talking about regional baseball, which is why Jay Johnson has always taken the approach he has with his pitching. And so he was asked what he might do in this regional, and not surprising at all, he's not tipping his hand.
I just found out who we're playing, so I have not looked at any of the teams yet. I think when you look at it, though, 2 of them were their league champions or won their conference tournament, and then we know DBU is a great program, and I believe they won the regular season title in Conference USA. So, it's 3 caliber championship teams. So we'll look at that and decide what we're going to do. Don't ask me for the rest of the week because we won't announce a starter for Friday, and it's everybody knows that.
It wasn't until minutes before LSU played Tulane 2 years ago that we learned Paul Skeens was going to start against Tulane. And remember, that was a Tulane team, if you remember, that was a Tulane team that won 19 games that year. They were sub 500. They would not have even been eligible for an at-large had they not won their conference tournament. They win the conference tournament, they get in, they get sent to LSU as the 4 seed, and Jay Johnson threw Paul Skeens against Tulane. The greatest pitcher in the history of the program, he threw against a 19-win Tulane team. That is, I've often equated to killing a bunny rabbit with a bazooka. And That's what he did, and it's what he's going to do here. Now, he also told us last week at the SEC tournament that the reason he wanted to throw Anthony Ianson and Cade Anderson on Friday against A&M was to have both of them available on full rest for Friday of the regional if he wanted to go that route. So my guess is the decision Jay Johnson's going to make is, does he want the lefty or the righty? And that's probably going to be looking at Little Rock's offense to say, do they fare better against lefties or righties? And that's probably the decision they'll make. My guess, and I want to be clear at this moment, just a guess. I don't have any inside info. I don't know I'm not going to pretend to know what Jay Johnson's going to do. I can certainly surmise based on his history that he's not going to pitch off, meaning he's not going to treat the 1 versus 4 matchup on Friday like a midweek game. He's not going to go Jaden Newt and save Anderson for Saturday and Ianson to close it out on Sunday. That is common. That is common practice for a lot of programs. They'll pitch off, they'll save their ace for the marble game because in essence, in that marble game, it's the winner's bracket game. You win that, you are in the driver's seat because then someone's got to go win an elimination game on Sunday, then come back and beat you Sunday night, and then win again on Monday. So that becomes very problematic. So that second game is so imperative, but you got to get to the second game. And no matter which pitcher Jay throws, Anderson or Ianson, he's got a great option waiting on Saturday in the marble game of the regional against anybody else they play. So, and what you're going to hear in just a moment from both Coach Curry and Coach Cerrato is that they have very clear options who's going to go in the first game for them. And so regardless, whoever LSU ends up playing in that marble game, you're not going to be facing their best guy. And you're going to have either Anderson or Ianson queued up, ready to go in that game to put you in the driver's seat. So that for all of those reasons, it's a very favorable setup for LSU. I don't know who Jay's going to throw. I just know I'm very confident saying it'll be Cade Anderson or Anthony Ianson. If I had to guess today, right now, he'll just keep everybody on their day. Anderson Friday, Ianson Saturday. Sunday, you come back to win it, and you'll likely go Newt, Shores, Myers, that combination that we've seen now over the last couple of weeks. And one more from Jay Johnson as they prepare this week for the game on Friday for the regional as whole, what his team needs to do.
Incredibly well, and then execute our plan well, have the players on the team be in the right frame of mind to play as good as they can. And if we get all of that, then I'm comfortable surrendering the result with confidence in what the result can and will be.
I love that approach because you prepare correctly. You're a more talented team than everybody else in this regional. If you're prepared and the right mindset, ready to go play, you're going to win this regional. There have been times where we've seen LSU upset in regionals. Happened back in 2005 against Rice. It happened in 2014 against Houston. LSU won the winner's bracket game against Houston, who came back, and LSU beat Southeastern in game 1. They beat Houston in game 2. Houston won an elimination game, then came back and beat LSU on Sunday night and again on Monday. And that Monday game was a 12-2 game and was never even close. My buddy Alden Cartwright started that game. He faced 4 hitters. He walked 3 of them and hit 1. So, and just like that, it unraveled on LSU. So it can go that way. You got to be in the right frame of mind and ready to go. And we'll see if the Tigers can be on Friday. And my guess is they'll be behind Cade Anderson on Friday against Little Rock. Speaking of Little Rock, I mentioned at the Open that this might be a sneaky 4 seed. Now, I don't want you to roll your eyes at me because I looked at the same thing you did. I looked at a team with a batting average of 270 and ERA of 6. They're an 8-16 team in conference play, sub 500 overall. I look and go, cakewalk. There's a little more than meets the eye. We'll get to that as we continue. Locked on LSU, your team every day. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So you look at which players are showing up in the biggest moments. We got the Western Conference Finals. Can OKC close it out? You're looking at Shea's over under total. Maybe Naz Reid, the former Tiger and the Minnesota Timberwolves, keep it alive. You can get in on all of it. And if you're new to FanDuel, it is a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. So LSU will play Little Rock in game 1 on Friday. And as we've mentioned a couple times, Little Rock is a team that doesn't do much for you on paper. Little Rock is a team that carries a sub 500 record, 24-32 overall, 8-16 in the conference. But after being the last team in their field, they went and won 5 games in 4 days to win the Ohio Valley. And behind Coach Chris Curry, they're back in regional play. Now, I want to give you some context on Coach Curry as well. Chris Curry started his career in the junior college level and then played his final season of collegiate baseball in 1999 at Mississippi State. He has also coached under Dave Van Horn at Arkansas, where he coached in regionals, supers, and he's coached in Omaha. He's also coached at Northwestern State in Louisiana, so he's very familiar with LSU, having played against LSU, coached in the state of Louisiana, in the SEC. He's coached in Baton Rouge as an assistant for both Northwestern State and Arkansas, played against LSU while he was a player at Mississippi State. Needless to say, he is very familiar with postseason baseball in the SEC. Also, every year, they play Arkansas, so they played at Baum Walker. This year, they played Ole Miss in a midweek game down at Swayze Field in Oxford and beat the Rebels 7-3. So the point is, this is an Arkansas Little Rock team that actually is sneaky pretty good. And as you're going to hear Coach Curry say, it's been a bit of an unorthodox season because they were the conference champion a year ago. That got bounced in 2 games in the conference tournament. Came back this year, were picked to finish second in the league. A rash of injuries hurt them, but they are getting healthy at the right time.
We're an interesting story right now because everyone sees the overall record and the improbable 5-0 run in the tournament. But just a little context, we won the regular season last year, and the previous 2 years we've had most program wins, and we were preseason pick number 2 to win our league. And I liked our club for our league. And then we had an unbelievable run of injuries. And 6 starters out of the lineup, in the everyday lineup, and 3 or 4 bullpen arms. We're still down our closer. He's not going to pitch again this year. And, when those guys are out, Matt, you don't, when you get them back, you don't just plug and play. It takes time to get their timing back, their rhythm. And it was pretty rough there late in the regular season. And the message was just get to the tournament, guys. Get to the tournament, and it's a new season, and that felt like 1,000,000 pounds lifted off our shoulder when we finally made it through the regular season, through everything we went through, got to the tournament, and we were just playing carefree and no pressure. The year before we came into the tournament as the 1 seed, and kind of carried that pressure of and it didn't go good. And then you come in as the 8 seed, and we know what those 1 and 2 seeds are feeling. And those guys just played loose and free and easy and got it done.
How do you win 5 games in 4 days?
Starts on the mound, right? We had a complete game by our Friday guy, who a very interesting nugget. 2 years ago, Jackson Wells, I believe it was 23. Was an All-American and led all of NCAA in ERA, and the number 2 name in ERA was Paul Skeens.
Heard of him.
Now, let's qualify that statement. Jackson Wells and Paul Skeens pitched in 2 different leagues. I understand that, but that's kind of an interesting nugget. Obviously, Paul Skeens is doing what he's doing in MLB, and Jackson at that time was a sophomore, and now he's in his 3rd year with us. He throws a complete game in game 1, and then that set our pitching up because, as you know, in a tournament, you're going to burn through your pitching if you're not careful, and that's what gets you. Well, that set us up, and then we had to play again that night. And we had a bullpen by committee game, and we got hot at the plate as well. Game number 3, the guy that had been the Sunday starter early in the year and battling some shoulder stuff, he comes out, throws the best game he's ever thrown, and goes 7. And then game number 4, we pieced it together, and then game 5, we have another complete game. And all the while, we were hitting, and I think we made 1 or 2 errors the entire tournament. So pitching, defense, and timely hitting. And the team that we thought that we had, we went down to Louisiana Tech in the fall and played our fall game there and showed really well there. We won a game at LSU on a Tuesday. At one point, we won 8 in a row, which was a program record for us. And so this team showed flashes. It was just so frustrating because the consistency wasn't there. But there were reasons why we weren't consistent.
So does that give you a little bit of context on the 4 seed who could be more dangerous than their record shows? Now, Jackson Wells is the starting pitcher he was talking about. And in 2023, Jackson Wells had an ERA of 1.65 that led the country ahead of Paul Skeens. He won 7 games that year. He had 2 complete games. He only struck out 80 in 93 innings pitched, but was pretty good. And I asked Chris Curry if Jackson Wells is going to be the starter against LSU on Friday.
I think that's probably the worst kept secret for around Little Rock baseball. Yeah, we're going to throw our best guy. I think Jackson Wells would kick my office door down if I didn't give him the ball in that game. That's why he came to Little Rock. Was an opportunity to be a Friday guy and pitch in big games and pitch in what is arguably the biggest game in program history. And our players would be equally as mad at me if I didn't hand the ball to Jackson Wells because they have so much confidence in him and who he is. And I'll give you another little nugget that I have noticed, and I don't even know if players realize it. We had no clue where we were going for a regional. And 10 days ago, 7 weeks ago, we had no clue where we were going for regional. And being a 90s guy and having watched as a kid Warren Morris hit the home run and playing against Brad Cressy and Carriot and Barbier and Ainsworth and Hodges and knowing Coach Burtman and, hold on to the rope. And so I just adopted that, saying to my guys when it started getting tough there at the end of the season, and they didn't really, they're young, right? So they didn't really have any idea, who it was really from. And then lo and behold, we show up in the Baton Rouge Regional where hold on to the rope was born. And so I think that's kind of cool. And our folks, our media's kind of grabbed onto it a little bit. And so, we're looking forward to it. We're going to let it fly. We're going to embrace the moment and make sure that when we look back on this opportunity, we didn't shy away from it or back down.
What a fascinating story. Again, as I mentioned, Chris Wells played at Mississippi State in 99, very keenly aware of LSU's run in the 90s under Skip Burtman, knowing the hold the rope story. There was a documentary about it. And here he is telling his guys throughout their run, hold the rope, and they end up in the Baton Rouge Regional. What a fascinating story. An easy guy to pull for, although not on Friday. But if you, like I, saw the name pop up on the screen, saw the record, and were quick to dismiss Little Rock, maybe not so fast. We have seen LSU offensively struggle, not only this year offensively, but historically in these 1-4 matchups in regionals where they do struggle against the mid-major guy for 4 or 5 innings before they get going. So file that away. Maybe a different level of focus for the Tigers with Little Rock coming in than maybe we would have thought from the onset. Now, as I mentioned, unfortunately did not have an opportunity to talk to the head coach of Dallas Baptist. I did, however, talk to the head coach at Rhode Island, Raphael Serado, who you'll hear from about his team's preparation when we continue Locked on LSU, your team every day. When you look at Rhode Island, the 3 seed in the Baton Rouge Regional, this is pretty obvious a team to figure out. As a team offensively, Rhode Island can really hit the baseball. They collectively as a team hit 309. They have 5 everyday players over 300. On the flip side, they have really, really struggled to pitch it. They have a staff ERA of 6.20. And there's one guy that's very clearly above the rest. They have two starters, Tristan Levesque, who will pitch the opener, in the 2-3 matchup against Dallas Baptist, and Jeremy Arena, who's their other starter. They had two starters, and one guy is very clearly their best, and that's Levesque. I talked to Coach Cerrato, and I asked him point blank, as a coach, you all score a ton of runs. Your ERA is north of 6. Yet I look at your record, and man, it's impressive. You're 38-20 on the season, 22-8 in conference play. You just out here outscoring people?
We did a lot early. We scored a lot of runs early. The pitching really strong. We lost two really key, a starter and a kid who would have probably been either a closer or setup guy to Tommy John. So that hurt. And two guys coming out from injury last year aren't quite back to where they were prior to injury. So I had expected us to be our pitching to be a real strength of ours, but we've kind of haven't been pitching to our capability. But as the season's gone on, we've definitely pitched much better. And I think what actually won us the A-10 tournament was the pitching. I mean, we gave up 3 runs, 2 runs, and 1 run in the 3 games. And the place we play is a bandbox for the A-10 tournament. So that it was just timely hitting, some big home runs. But it was the pitching that carried us in the A-10s. And obviously we're getting to a higher level with Dallas Baptist and LSU in terms of hitters. But, I feel like we've definitely improved as the season gone on with the staff, for sure.
So a good offensive team, a pitching staff that has struggled but has improved. And as I mentioned, Levesque is the guy who is their, no doubt, Friday night number 1 guy. And so as is typical in a 2-3 matchup, you're going to go pitch your best guy to try to win that opener. And that's what Coach Cerrato said they're going to do.
It's not going to be a real shock if you look at our pitchers, who's going to start, which our number 1 guy is a 5th-year senior kid, Levesque, Tristan Levesque, who's been good. He's had an incredible career. He's ranked top 1 or 2 in just about all kinds of categories. He's doing a 10-inning shutout against Oregon. We end up losing in the bottom of or 11th, 1-0 against Oregon. So he's the kind of kid that could, with his stuff, I feel really good. He's got basically 4 pitches for strikes. He's not going to blow you away with his fastball, but it definitely plays up. And he's a competitor, and we're excited to see him go out there and throw well.
Coach, he mentioned Oregon, by the way. They played 4 games in Eugene against Oregon. They were 1-3 in those games, and they did lose a game where he had thrown a complete game shutout through 10 innings, and they ended up losing 1-0 in 11. Now, the rest of that weekend was a total score fest. I think they lost 7. Well, I could probably pull it up for you and find it. They lost. Hang on, I'll tell you the final scores here right now. That series in Eugene, because it was a score fest. Here you go. This is back in February, by the way. Game 1 they lost 12-11. Game 2 they lost 1-0 in 11 innings. That was the game he was referencing. Then they lost 19-12, and then they got run ruled 15-2. So you could tell a bit of a struggle on the bump. Now, there's one other team to talk about in this regional. And that is, of course, Dallas Baptist, a team that LSU played at Globe Life earlier this year and beat 7-3 in a midweek and looked pretty impressive in doing it. I wish I could give you more on Dallas Baptist from their head coach, but Dan Hefner declined to join the show, which understand it's a regional week and there's a lot going on. My contention is, take a phone call for 10 minutes and promote your program, but he doesn't have to. He can do what he wants. We saw Dallas Baptist. This is a good offensive team. Grant Jay hit a monster home run in that ball game off of Connor Ware. But Dallas Baptist has a team hitting .304, led by Nathan Humphreys at .360, Keaton Grady at .348, Chayton Krause at 344. Michael Detallo at 322. Grant J, who I mentioned, at 322. That's 5 hitters over 300 in the everyday lineup. They can swing it. That's kind of a hallmark of this Dallas Baptist team. And they do have a true weekend rotation with Ryan Borberg, James Ellwanger, and Micah Bucknam, who I think LSU fans probably familiar with Micah Bucknam as well. So we'll see how they elect to line up their pitching. I don't know. I didn't have a chance to ask Coach Hefner. I'll do my best to get some answers as we move through the week. But more than likely, you'll see an LSU Dallas Baptist rematch on Saturday night in the regional if the chalk holds. I, as I mentioned, am going to be pulling for Rhode Island because Coach Cerrato was kind enough to give us his time. So I'll be pulling for the Rhode Island Rams coming down, and they also have an ace in Levesque, but nothing after that. So I think in a marble game against Anthony Irons, it would highly favor LSU. So clearly you want LSU to beat Little Rock, and then I think you're pulling for Rhode Island to upset Dallas Baptist as well. And if Dallas Baptist manages to come out of the losers bracket, they deplete their pitching to do so. They'd have to slug their way past LSU in a 4th and 5th game of the regional for Dallas Baptist. But that's how it's going to shape up for LSU this weekend in the Baton Rouge Regional. So, hey, thanks so much for making us your first listen every single day. Now for your second listen, how about you go check out the portal? Of course, we'll be keeping tabs on college baseball, but if you want college football in the portal, Brian Schmidt's got the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes of college football's landscape. Find the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're listening to us on podcast, thanks so much for being there. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.